Iniki. See, there are two things, right? Tithe is different, offering is different. Okay? So, what is tithe and what is offering? We'll see that. And இன்னைக்கு வந்து எடுக்க போகிறது we'll see how tithe. Okay, when we get into it, we'll see. Can someone read this? Genesis 14 and Genesis 3.
14:19. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abraham of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him tithe of all. Genesis 3. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought an offering of the fruit of the ground to the Lord. Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat.
Scripturesல theory of first appearance அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு ஒரு ஸ்டடி இருக்கு. Okay, I'm not a very big fan of that theory of first appearance. ஏன்னா these are the 66 books that it was compiled as canon, but there are several thousands of manuscripts, right, that talks about still about God. But when we see the scripture theory of first appearance, the first time Nepo tithe was said, and when was first time offering was said. Offering was said much in advance, even before tithe came.
Yes.
There is a very big relevance in that. Why?
Offering was first said, then tithe. Is that what
Yeah. Offering was
Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
So, offering has a very different meaning than tithe. Both are giving, right? But it has a very different meaning. We will also see why offering was given first and then why tithe came. Okay? What is tithe and offering? In traditional belief, right? Tithe is a must and offering is a free will. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
What does it mean to tithe and offer to God? Why is it considered important? That's the point to ponder. We'll go around on that. So, this is Levitical tithe. Okay? Does someone, can someone read this very quickly? And just the red, blue, and
green.
you can read fully. But yeah.
You shall truly tithe all the increase of your grain that the field produces year by year, and you shall eat before the Lord your God, in the place where he chooses to make his name abide, the tithe of your grain and your new wine and your oil of the firstborn of your herds and your flocks, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. But if the journey is too long for you, so that you are not able to carry the tithe, or if the place where the Lord your God chooses to put his name is too far from you, when the Lord your God has blessed you, then you shall exchange it for money. Take the money in your hand and go to the place which the Lord your God chooses. And you shall spend that money for whatever your heart desires, for oxen or sheep, for wine or similar drink, for whatever your heart desires. You shall eat there before the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice, you and your household. You shall not forsake the Levite who is within your gates, for he has no part nor inheritance with you. At the end of every third year, you shall bring out the tithe of your produce of that year and store it up within your gates. And the Levite, because he has no portion nor inheritance with you, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow who are within your gates, may come and eat and be satisfied, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hand which you do.
So, there are two types of tithing, right? One is the Levitical tithing and Melchizedek tithing, right? So, first let's see what is Levitical. It is like the principle. So, we generally think tithing is like giving 10% to God, right? But this is Levitical tithing, right? Where the tithe was fully in detail explained. There are two types. Every time you tithe, and every third year you tithe. Every third year, Levites, they don't work, right? They do only the priestly services, so they don't have food. So what you do is, you bring every once in 3 years, you put it in a storehouse, and other than that, every year when you bring a tithe, you don't give it to them. You take the tithe and go and eat with them. How exactly they have explained this to give you a visual reference. See, there is a Jewish family and they have not money. Tithe is not about money. It's about all that you have. All that you have. And 10% out of all that you have. And if they are staying far away from the Jerusalem temple, right? So what they do is, if it's a long distance, they exchange that for money. Okay? And because you cannot carry all these things for several miles, right? It's too much of stuff. So exchange that for money, and they travel to the temple with all the money, and once they reach there, they buy back all that the heart desires. Idanaladha, even selling the
Who buys that?
the family with the money. Because of this only, there are a lot of, if you see in the New Testament, there are a lot of people who comes and sells in the temple of God, right? Because people who is coming from far off, they come to get the lamb, to get the animals that they want to do the tithing. But why would they need to repossess or buy it back? Because it is not about giving money to the temple, it is about eating with the Levites, eating with the priests. So tithing is not about giving your money away. Tithing is about you give it or share it with people and share it with the priest. That is the crux of tithing, right?
Is it like Levitical law? Was this throughout the year which they do, or is it a special?
Throughout the year, they do it once in a year, and once in 3 years they bring it to the storehouse. See,
Okay, to Jerusalem.
Even every year when they finish, it can also go to the storehouse. The excess will go to the storehouse, but it's all about not about putting it into the storehouse. Putting it into the storehouse is about taking care of the Levites. But tithing is foremost about sharing and eating with the high priest, according to the Levites.
So any number of times throughout the year,
Generally, right, they do it once in a year because most of the people who does not live in Jerusalem, they come from far off. Right? So this is Levitical tithing. Bringing what you have and sharing it with the high priest. But this tithing was not the first tithing that came, because this is a Levitical tithing, but the first tithing it came through Abraham and Melchizedek. Right? Let's see what is that tithing. Okay, so who is this Melchizedek?
King Jesus.
He represents Jesus. But the name Melchizedek, he is a king of Salem, which means, Salem means, from that word Shalom came. So it means peace, king of peace. And Melchizedek means king of righteousness, which actually represents the king of peace and king of righteousness, who is Jesus Christ. Right? So Melchizedek represents Jesus Christ, and also in New Testament you read, we do not know the origin or where exactly he came from. He is the king and he is also the high priest of God. In Levitical order or according to the law, a king cannot be a high priest. But he is the only king and he is the only high priest. Like Jesus is the only king and he is the high priest. Okay? So, something happened here on tithing. So, what exactly happened in Genesis 14 is, Abraham, right? If, Abraham's
Nephew.
nephew was captured, and he goes with his 300 people. He takes everything back, and he comes back. When he comes back, Melchizedek meets Abraham. So it's very important to see the sequence of the action and happening here. Okay? So first Melchizedek, he came with bread and wine. They could have said anything else, right? They could have said like with meat, with everything, but clearly Bible says with bread and wine. And after that, he met Abraham and he gave everything. Once Abraham received everything, he gave back a tenth of everything. Yeah, this is good. What? First, Melchizedek gave Abraham the bread and wine, and Abraham gave back. Oh, one second. Abraham gave and Melchizedek received. So, what actually happened if you see about the sequence of action in Christ? First, Jesus Christ came giving his bread and wine, which is his blood, his body and his blood, right? He was alive. And now, when we give our tithe back, think about Melchizedek, he was alive to receive the tithe back, right? Which is like, he's alive. Melchizedek was alive. Well, yeah, we can say yes, yeah, that's what happened. But the analogy is Jesus is now alive after giving the bread and wine, which is like after he died on the cross. It is about his resurrection. He rose again, he is alive, and we are giving the tithe back to the high priest because Jesus is our high priest and he is alive to receive. So when you give tithe, the base meaning is when you give tithe, you are declaring that Jesus is alive to receive my tithe. Tithe is all about declaring that Jesus has risen from the dead and is alive. That's why the concept of tithing was not just introduced in Levitical order, but was introduced long back in Melchizedek order. That's why he was a high priest, that's why he was the king of righteousness, and he received. See, a king does not need to receive a tenth of what Abraham had. Right? We see that as a story, but when you plug it into what had actually happened in Jesus Christ, it is all talking about his resurrection, that he is alive and is ready to receive our tithe. So, do you really need to give tithe according to the Levitical order or even according to the Melchizedek order? God does not need your money or your resource or anything. God says in the scriptures, everything in earth belongs to everything. Everything. You don't have to give anything. Even the offering you don't have to give. Even the tithe you don't have to give. If God has brought in the Levitical order, He knows how to take care of the Levitical order. He can give manna to take care of the Levites. Right? He can do wonders to take care. But why these sequence of action come in? Because these sequence of actions are hidden in the Old Testament. In New Testament, it reveals, it says about, oh yeah, the Christ is going to rise from the dead, and He's, for us to confess that He is alive, we give tithe. So, basic principle of tithe is declaring that Jesus is alive, He rose from the dead. Tithing is acknowledging that Jesus is risen and alive.
Question.
Combining both, right? So, whatever I explained, tithe is acknowledging that Jesus is risen, and in Levitical order it is shared with the Levites, which is again communing with Levites. Okay? Now, so what is offering? Okay, before I talk about offering, right? Science behind giving, right? So we know that giving is good, but you know that like whenever you give, you have a feel-good factor inside of you. There's some joy. It is not just like emotional. It has a scientific reason because there are certain types of hormone that secretes when you give, which is like serotonin, dopamine, and
Oxytocin.
oxytocin. Yeah. So these are the type of hormone which makes you feel good. Happy. Which means by design, you were designed to give. But why? Okay. Why do you give? See, God, right? He created. See, giving was there even in Adam. During the Adam's age, Cain and Abel, they gave offering, right? God, right, is a giving God. He gave everything he had. But once man fell from God, lost the image. So, for man to acknowledge that he is in the image of God, he gives. Offering is not just offering to God. That's why Jesus said, whenever you give to one of these little ones, you give it to me. Which means the heart of giving, when you have the heart of giving and when you give it to others, you are declaring yourself that you are in the image of God. Offering is all about you declaring to yourself, saying that you are in the image of God. That's all is offering about. It's very short. Today. Summary. Tithing, as I said, acknowledging that Jesus is risen and sharing the joy with the body of the Christ. And offering is giving, but to remember and to declare to yourself, saying that you are in the image of God, because a God is a giving God. Take away. As you said, right? Tithing is, tithe is tenth, but you don't really need to give tenth. You can give 1%, you can give 99%, 100%. I'll go beyond that. It is okay if you don't want to give tithe, right? Because God does not compel you. When you know that our God is alive, by nature we give, right? It is not an emotion, it is not a compulsion, but it is a work of God that's created in you to know that Jesus is alive. When you know that Jesus is alive, out of the abundance of heart you give. I think I covered everything.